Everyone, my name is Brett from Simulation Beats, here for Karanyi Sounds to show you guys the brand new Cloudmax plugin. This multi-effects plugin allows you to add texture and shape to your tracks using shimmering reverb and granular modules, turning anything into a soundscape and adding depth to your track. So to start off with here, let's go over some of the presets of Cloudmax. Alright, so I use a lot of different variety here in this melody, that way we can actually go through a bunch of different presets and not get bored. And this melody right here is a completely dry signal. I added 0 effects on there, so we can definitely tell in places like this that there's some empty spaces that definitely need to be filled. And I want you guys to hear just the initial preset just by adding Cloudmax. Already a huge difference. And now we can go over and cycle through some of the presets. See, now some of the presets over here say send effects over there, and you could absolutely do that by routing it over to a different track over there and mixing in and dialing exactly what you want. Alright, this one is a very intense effect, which maybe even I would use in as a send effects. Okay, let's try and add some drums over that, I think. Give you guys a practical use of the plugin. So one thing to notice here is that just applying the Cloudmax plugin to any sound instantly adds a lot of depth, making it a very easy plug-and-play option. But of course, there's a lot more to go through in this plugin if you want to dive in a bit more yourself and learn how to change some of these presets or even make some of your own. So it is time to go over some of the features and effects of Cloudmax. Okay, so I turned basically everything that I could back down to 0. There's still a slight difference here with it on and then off. But for the most part here, it's not really doing too much. Okay, so breaking it down is actually pretty easy over here. So we've got 2 main components over here, one being all the texture modules, and then the other one being the reverb. And we'll look deeper into that in just a second. On the side, we've got the in and out knobs, the mixing wet and dry right here, a low pass or high pass filter, and a darker or brighter tone knob. And last but not least, the bypass in the bottom corner. So starting over here with texture. Okay, so over here, if you couldn't tell, we actually do have 2 different knobs, one in the middle, and then one on the outer ring. And those are both going to control the density of the texture side over here. But we won't be able to hear anything if we don't turn up the amount of the texture. So let's go to maybe like halfway, that we can hear a difference. Okay, and there you might have been able to hear something, but we got to tweak a few more different things over here, starting with density mix. Maybe panning as well. And now the main thing over here is going to be the octave shifter. Alright, so we can actually change what octave the texture is going to be in. And now you can absolutely hear that, right? And then you can go back to some other knobs and tweak the way that it sounds. Okay, so I actually like the way it's turning out so far. And we can go on over to the reverb now and change some more stuff. Starting with the mod over here, you've got wow, slow, and fast. I always prefer the slow side over here. Change up the diffusion. And really hear that the texture kind of smoothing out a little bit. And And that's so you can get that really shiny reverb feel. Now dampening is going to add a little bit more of the low end of the reverb there, make it sound very saturated. But for this melody, I kind of do like the tinniness of it, the bright end, so I'm going to leave that a little bit down further over here. Change up the side and feedback. That's going to have some funky sounds when you play with it, but then it will smoothen out again. And now we're getting to those really, really big reverbs, right? Very dramatic effects. But this is exactly what I like with my reverbs and texture. This is exactly what I would prefer. And then over here we can play with the wet and dry. If you want to go all the way over here to wet, this would be perfect for your send effects. But that is a little bit too dramatic even for me, so we're backing that on down to around 50. And if you don't want such a dramatic effect, you can also just turn that down as well. And then the low pass filter and high pass filter. So that might be a little bit too much. And over here going to the high pass filter, we're getting a lot of the low end. I always really like a slight low pass filter. Something around there sounds really pleasing to me. Once again, I like kind of how the brightness of this melody, so I'll be increasing the brightness a little bit. And it sounds completely different now. Okay, let's go and turn off Cloudmax. Very dry. It's still a good melody, but to really fill out that space, I think Cloudmax really, really helps out. But I really like the preset that we made over here. So all I've got to do is hit the preset button over here and then hit add. Big and bright. That sounds accurate. But it would not be a Karanyi product if there was no randomized features. So we can randomize the texture over here, press as many times as we would like. Same thing with the reverb, and hear what that sounds like. Subtle, but you can definitely hear it more in the background here. Change up the reverb. Oh, that sounds really good. And done. Right there, you've already got a brand new preset that you could use. Also save this one. Works out perfectly. So as you can tell, there's a lot that you can do with this plugin. In fact, I actually made 4 demos for you guys here today. Normally I like to make 3, but I did make an extra one here just because I came back from vacation, and I took a rather lengthy break away from producing, so I just really wanted to create. Also meaning that some of these are a bit more experimental and different from what you guys have heard from me before. So just keep an open mind when hearing these tracks. I still do really like them, and created all 4 of these in one day. So without further ado, let's go into the demos that I made for the Cloudmax plugin. So the first demo that we've got here is going to be a lo-fi beat that I made. Whenever I hear soundscape adding depth with reverb and granular modules, I instantly think about lo-fi, adding a lot of depth and really filling out that space. Alright, so first here's the melody without the Cloudmax VST. Now here's that exact same melody with the Cloudmax VST applied on the Nightmare preset. The way that I was building out this track, I wanted to make it more of a sad, emotional lo-fi beat, so I added some very grimy bass here as well. Some sound effects and a perk to fill out the space. And finally, a very heavily swung drum pattern. And with all of that put together, it all sounds like this. Now time for demonstration number 2 here, and this is the one where I start to really experiment a bit and just really let my inspiration take hold here and just went with the flow. I like it. It's a bit different. The first half of the melody is going to be the dry signal, and then I'm going to turn on Cloudmax halfway through. Now what I really like there that Cloudmax did is that it added a lot more movement to the melody. The melody is heavily carried by the sound selection that I have there, but it's still very stagnant. Adding Cloudmax almost sounded like there was an ARP in the background, kind of speeding up the pace a little bit. Now here's the trap drums that I added. And now finally the full track all the way through. Now onto demo number 3 here. All the tracks that I make, I try to have a different feel for each one. This one's still a trap beat, but a much different sort of groove. Here are the chords and melody without Cloudmax applied. Now after adding the dark stadium preset on Cloudmax, it sounds like this. Alright, and just a very quick note for the drums here, I'm experimenting a lot more with call and response here. So I've actually got 2 different hi-hats doing the same thing, just moved over a couple of steps, and same thing for the open hats as well. It just makes it sound more lively, like there's a conversation going on between instruments. And here's the final result of this demo. This last one I was not really planning on making. I just had a melody going and decided to slap on Cloudmax and then just ran with it from there. So here's that melody without Cloudmax. So for this track and demonstration right here, I want to make my own preset from scratch. I called it the Simulation Beach counter melody. That's because whenever you hear the melody played, it sounds like there's a counter melody underneath it, strictly because we're using Cloudmax to get that effect. And I did put some automation for Cloudmax right here, starting from 0 up to its baseline right there. Could you guys tell that I was super sick when I recorded that part? Anyway, here's the full track. If you guys made it this far, I want to thank you guys for watching this demonstration and showcase on the Cloudmax plugin. Let me know in the comments down below which of the demos were your favorite, and if you are planning on picking up Cloudmax, there'll be a link in the description.